Hello and welcome to the Gen X Dad and his Gen Z Teens podcast. This program takes a lighthearted look at generational differences about all sorts of topics. We explore everything from pop culture to history to relationships to politics, but only in a very shallow level. We don't aim to be controversial or to be the authoritative voice on any topic. We are not social scientists or scientists of any sort for that matter. We're just here to rap about things that we think are important and that we will have fun talking about. Also, it is my opportunity to publicly and on the record prove that I am right and my teens are wrong in all cases, and that the 80s and the 90s were absolutely the best time to grow up. All right, welcome back. Today's episode is how we watch TV. Basically looking at TV the way I grew up as a Gen Xer in the 80s versus really what is now the way you guys as Gen Z mostly just watch on your phones now through the internet. So how we watch TV definitely seems very different, but I guess I want to explore a little bit. Is it just the technology, or are there fundamental differences in how we are watching TV? So first I'm going to describe how we did it in the 80s. And man, you guys get ready for this one. I actually can remember a time not only before there was the internet, but before cable. I literally remember I was the remote. My dad would sit there and tell me to change the channel because we didn't have a remote control. We didn't have that type of TV yet. And so he'd sit there, and between the four channels that we had, ABC, NBC, CBS, and PBS, I would sit by up by the TV and actually change the channels because he hated watching commercials. Also, that would allow him to watch multiple shows. Crazy, but I don't think I'm the only one who had that experience. I was in kindergarten when we got cable. Went from 4 stations to 22 and just thought that was insane. I mean, compared to today, which, we have hundreds of them, that 22 was just crazy. But I was in kindergarten. There was Disney had a channel, and that was pretty exciting to me at that time. We also then finally got a remote control, so we could actually sit on the couch and do it. And again, that was a big part of our day. The last thing, and I thought this was really interesting when I was dating your mom and we were talking about different things, was we grew up in different parts of the country, but our childhood experiences were pretty similar. We ended up liking the same shows, watched the same shows, and it's really a testament to the fact that there were still really limited options for the most part. And so, good TV, we all liked the same shows. Interesting, both of us grew up at the time when the Dukes of Hazzard was really popular. The Cosby Show was a big deal when it came out as a comedy that everybody watched. And I mean by everybody, not just like everybody in the family, but everybody across the nation. It really was a big deal that we were all tied together. And that's ultimately my point that I think I'm going to make. Well, I am going to make it in the sense that why TV was better in the 80s, because it brought us mostly all together and we were all on the same page. The other thing that was pretty huge in the 80s and 90s, because again, we were limited channels, there was no streaming. I think HBO existed, but I know we didn't have it early on, was the networks used to do these real giant made-for-TV epics. And mostly there were these really big books like The Winds of War or Roots or The Blue and the Gray that were multi-night events. They would last. They would be like 7, 8, 9, 10 episodes that they would do back to back to back to back. And literally the whole country would tune in for those. So it was really kind of cool because then everybody was talking about the same thing. The whole proverbial water cooler talk where everybody's talking about watching the same show and discussing it. It's obviously a lot harder now with a lot of options, but it was a big deal. So with that, giving you my history, how do you guys think of, let's just traditional TV, think of your ABC, NBC, CBS, kind of, the stuff that's on TV, not on your phone?
Well, I mean, to be honest, the only thing I still really use cable TV for is sports. That's really all I watch on cable. Everything else is just easier to get online, less commercials, and just kind of less hassle. You can watch it wherever. So, I mean, yeah. And if they were, they're kind of starting to bring sports onto streaming, and once they kind of got that all the way, then I don't even see a point in ever buying cable. Like, I'll probably never buy cable as an adult. I'll probably just use streaming services.
I can see that. Tell me a little bit about, as far as I think you watch some of the shows on streaming more so than your younger brother. Talk to me a little bit about how you use YouTube. Are there actual shows, or is it mostly because I see you guys on YouTube all the time?
I'd say YouTube is different. It's not the same as TV because in general, like YouTube videos are a lot shorter. I mean, like usually almost never over an hour long. Most of them are around 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. And I don't know really what that would equate to back in your, childhood, but most of them are about kind of a single subject or a quick thing.
Okay. What about you? You watch a lot of YouTube. What is it that you're watching?
I mainly watch just kind of like different things, like sports analysis, like different like history of stuff. But I mean, kind of everything. And YouTube is nice, and I think it's a little bit better than like normal TV because there's just more variety, and you can kind of there's just a different bunch of different topics and things that you can do, and it's not just set on a certain schedule, which was why it's kind of nice.
Yeah, to kind of go off that YouTube, I'm usually watching either some sort of comedy or some sort of, yeah, like he said, sports analysis. So that is nice about YouTube is there's pretty much anything. Whatever you want to watch, you can find something for it.
That is very true. And I actually find myself watching that, especially educational stuff or where people do the really cool breakdowns of different aspects of it. That is a huge improvement. What is interesting, and I'm not going to basically say that I'm any different. I complain about how much you guys spend on the screen, but I discussed this with your mom. I mean, our parents complained about how much time we sat in front of the TV. I mean, a screen is a screen is a screen.
Yeah, actually, I think that's funny. So in history, last week we were actually talking about how the average time for an American when TV first started kind of becoming a major thing, the average American would spend 5 hours in front of their TV, which is about maybe a little less than how much time I spend on my phone. So stuff really just hasn't changed. It's just a different medium now.
Well, one thing that has definitely changed is just the availability of it. So for us growing up, I mean, again, a formative time when I was young, cartoons on Saturday morning. I mean, that was a religion for pretty much all kids. They'd start at about 7 in the morning, so you had to be up just before 7 to start catching the first ones, and they usually were over around 11. And then that was it. That was cartoons for the day. You'd go out then and play outside. Eventually, then they also had cartoons after school for about 2 hours, and then that was it before the news and everything else took over. And so that was our time to watch cartoons. Now, I mean, or eventually when the Cartoon Network started and there were 24-hour-a-day cartoons, like you guys never really had that. I mean, I literally remember waking up so excited to go watch cartoons in the morning. Do you guys ever experience any part of that? Because I mean, you guys had 24-hour cartoons.
No, not really like having that feeling of like waiting to. I mean, I guess the closest thing would be like waiting for a new season of your show on like Netflix to drop. I've been waiting for season 4 of The Outer Banks for forever, but there's no like I guess like a weekly kind of thing where you're like waiting for something to come out, other than maybe with sports would be like just waiting for a big game or something.
Yeah, I don't have any type of schedule for cable. Like, I barely even watch it. I never wake up like, oh, I can't wait to see what's on cable. Like, I just don't do that.
Yeah, I get that. No, I mean, the convenience of having it all together is at any moment when you want it is obviously a nice thing, and takes away any type of scheduling stuff that we used to. I mean, Thursday nights. So you've heard the term Thursday night TV, and I think it's kind of had a renaissance, but that's when Seinfeld and Friends and all that stuff. I mean, that's when you had to watch it, was on Thursday. Obviously, you guys aren't tied to that anymore with anything. I mean, especially with streaming services, the way they work, or YouTube, you can watch most of the clips and everything. That being said, it was good TV. And I know, they talk about, I think the millennials or Gen Z or somebody is like made Friends super popular again in Seinfeld. Do you guys have any friends that are watching Friends or Seinfeld?
I think that's mostly probably a millennial thing. Yeah, I mean, there's people in my generation that have watched those and liked them, but I don't think it's quite the same as it was for like millennials and people before.
Okay. Yeah, I get that. But that was good TV, and I remember those episodes and those shows when they started. And I mean, those are big moments. I mean, you really used to look forward to those shows, and that was on a weekly basis. It wasn't, I would say the most common, which I want to watch with you guys eventually when you're ready, which is Game of Thrones. I mean, the anticipation for a new season to start. But I mean, you're waiting 6, 7, 8 months, whereas with TV, it was really just the summer break and a little bit of a winter break. I mean, you're talking 8 weeks, 12 weeks at the most before a whole new season started. Yeah, choices are overwhelming. Yeah, I know you guys really don't watch any kind of regular TV. To be honest, I don't really watch regular TV. Occasionally, I'll watch 60 Minutes on Sundays when I'm thinking about it. Obviously, we're kind of busy with a whole bunch of other stuff. But just the convenience of the streaming and just the amount of choices that are out there with streaming. And again, we have a couple of different subscriptions. It just really makes TV very different from the way I came up. But overall, I'm still going to say that I think the experience in TV was better now that I'm looking at it as a parent, as an older adult. It's just we watched it as a family. We watched it as a community. And now, I mean, we're all in different rooms, all on our devices, all watching different things. And I think we've lost something with that. So I'll give you guys a final word on that.
Maybe to a degree that has happened, but I think that it hasn't changed that much. When you look at, maybe Netflix and shows like Stranger Things, Outer Banks, or a lot of these kind of other really popular shows on Netflix, a lot of people have watched those, as a family, because a lot of people have watched them, people are talking about them, and people are anticipating, upcoming seasons or episodes. So it still kind of happens. It's just a little different.
And really the only time you see people like getting together for cable is really only for sports, like kickoff, opening day, different big events, the playoffs, championships. That's really the only time that we see people come together for cable.
No, agreed. Obviously, the Super Bowl was recently. We all got together and watched that. But you're right. We did watch Stranger Things together as a family. Ted Lasso was a big one I think we all enjoyed together. So it's still possible to do it. We just got to make ourselves do a little bit of extra effort. So with that, again, I think it goes back, though, to my point that the experience is better when you're doing it together as a family or together with somebody else versus doing it, so to speak, on your own. So Really happy for you guys. Thank you for indulging with me today again, my Gen Z teens with just big giant smiles on their face, if you can believe that. But for everyone else out there, if you like this episode, please give it a like, leave a comment if you agree. Definitely if you agree. If you disagree, I'm sure there's another podcast somewhere you can leave a comment. Only leave nice ones for us, please, as we're just getting started. I want to thank all of you, though, for listening to it. This has been the Gen X dad and his Gen Z teens just talking about ways that I am right and they are wrong. Take care and check in for episodes in the future. Thanks.